You're listening to a Benstown and McVeigh Media Podcast Network production. Run It Again is an inside look at the players, the coaches, and the business of sports with former NFL star and broadcaster Ron Pitts.
And 2 minutes later, I was back in the same Oklahoma drill that I got the concussion from.
And the mastermind behind the greatest show on turf, Coach Mike Martz.
And we want to force him into a vanilla defense and go to work.
Run It Again is a hard-hitting, no BS podcast that connects you directly to the source. This is Run It Again.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
What's with the hat?
So that hat says Vortex. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
And I know you know what that
Right.
is, considering the camo and everything. Yeah, that's so that's a scope. They make scopes for rifles, hunting rifles. So we land in Sioux Falls. We're going to watch my boys' game, and I can't find my wife. And it's hunting season, and there's booths set up here and there, and they're giving out free this, free that, and she loves that kind of stuff. So I find her about 15 minutes later, and she's got orange backpack on this shoulder, an orange something else in this shoulder. She's got 3 or 4 hats, all this swag that they passed out. Mm-hmm. And now she's a part of the I don't know, the hunting season culture, I guess. So
the Pheasant Hunters of America.
That's right.
What did she think it was? What was she going to do with it?
She doesn't know, but all she knows it's free.
It's free.
And you take it if it's free, right?
Yeah.
So there you go, man. But
being from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that's all pheasant hunting, and that's pheasant season back there.
Yeah. So anyways, man, and got my Sioux Falls University hat on and our hoodie on. So, I'm ready to go here. I'm ready to go. All right, Mike. Bam. Wow. A lot of good games this past weekend. Let's just start with this Monday night game, Buffalo and Tennessee.
Right.
Whoa. And the big boy, Derrick Henry, was rolling. It was a great game.
It was, right down to the very end there, the last 2 series that Buffalo had, I just have a problem. The second to last series, they went 3 and out. They took 2 shots at the end zone back to back. Couldn't get the first down. Then, of course, they go down and Derrick puts it in the end zone, and now they got to catch him again. So they get all the way down to the 1-yard line, and I'm looking at the front, and they have 4 down linemen between the 2 guards. And there's just no way you're going to get a quarterback sneak in there, right? And so he starts in the shotgun, and I don't know if that was predetermined. He had to do that, or he couldn't do something else, but it was probably the worst front that you could possibly run a quarterback sneak.
Try that play against.
Then he slipped. He slipped. Does he make it if he doesn't slip? I don't know. He's a big dude, but I don't know who could get a quarterback sneak against 4 down linemen from guard to guard. That's a nasty looking front there. When that happened, when I saw them line up and then he ran up to do the quarterback sneak, I told Julie before the ball's time, I said, this isn't going to be good.
And they were coming off of a timeout, right?
They
had time to talk about it, discuss it, or they were reviewing his previous run toward the pylon, which they ruled just shy of the first down. And he jumped out of bounds, fell out of bounds. Right. So, but in general, you like going for it, the call to go for it on 4th instead of take the field.
I don't have any problem going for it. I think, but he's got a stable of receivers there pretty darn good.
Yeah.
There's, and the thing that's missing on that team is a dynamic running game.
No, that's
true. They don't trust it, or they just don't have the backs, whatever it is. But that's their Achilles right now, and it showed up there because that's a situation where you need to turn the ball and hand it to the back.
Yeah.
Or a play action, get it into a back, anything but a quarterback sneak. And I know how big he is. I know what they're thinking, but when they came out there and they had those 4 down guys in there, he should have had some sort of option where he didn't do that, right? But they didn't, and they lost another heartbreaker. Remind me of the Vegas game or the Pittsburgh game in the opener, but they got beat, and they physically got beat in that game.
Yeah. And to your point about the run game, Singletary, he was a leading rusher with 27 yards. Second leading rusher, Josh Allen with 26 yards. So
they've got to do something. It's not, you don't have flags on your legs. It's not flag football. You have to be able to hand that ball off and get productive with it. Otherwise you're not going to win a championship.
No.
You're just not.
No. no. And on the other side of the ball, they got that answered right with Derrick Henry. Boy, 20 carries, 143 yards. Whew, that man seems to get stronger and better every year.
Well, they showed that graphic, 2 yards in the first quarter
Oh, that was
per
scary.
rush, then 3, then 4, then
He
6 in the
gets
fourth
stronger
quarter.
and better as the game goes on. Yeah, that very well could be a matchup that we see AFC championship game or somewhere in the playoffs, because those two teams
Could very well be. Yeah.
Yeah.
The quarterback played good. I mean, they played very well on offense. They were well rounded. When you can rush the ball like that, you get wide receivers one-on-one all the time. They've got to get more guys up there than you're comfortable with. If you have a dynamic passing game, which they really do, and they've got those two big old receivers that, of course, Julio makes that great catch there on the sideline in that last series to get him down there. But the pass game's going good now. They were so out of sync to start the season, but they're rolling now.
Yep, no, they are. So Tennessee will take that win 34-31, and Buffalo has to lick the wounds. And as Josh Allen said today in the papers, we're going to take it and get fuel from it, learn from it, and move on. That's all you can do. It's too early in the season.
Does that remind you of another game last year that they were in?
Yeah. AFC Championship game, right?
In the Cardinal game early in the year, remember?
I see. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Last play of the game, throws a touchdown.
That too. Yeah. No, that's right. Right. Yeah. Well, they say winning's a habit. Well, losing can be a habit too, and you don't want to start developing that kind of habit here. So
yeah, you have to figure out a way to win.
Sean McDermott, he's got to figure that out and figure out how to move on. Any other games jump out at you, Mike? I know Dallas and New England. That was an interesting game.
It's fun to watch New England play in New England because they just don't make any mistakes. They're like a machine.
Yeah, that's true.
No matter how good they are. But the thing that impressed me is their ability to run the ball now. And they're not that good in the offensive line, but they're really rushing the ball pretty well. The quarterback is effective. He's not a pop gun arm like somebody had said in the media, and somebody called him a pop gun arm. But Jones is not. He's a good passer. They're going to continue to get better and better, and eventually they'll be in a position to challenge for that division again.
Yeah, that game came down to the overtime situation. Everybody's talking about Trevon Diggs now, and another interception. I believe that's 7 on the year. Then he got burned. And I want to be careful how I say this. He was involved. It looked like it was man-to-man coverage to start. They hit a long one, right? But the safety came down,
took that bad angle, and that was
right.
it.
And it's unfortunate, and that's just I get it. That's the world we live in. People will point to the last man chasing the ball, and I've been in that situation sometimes.
Ron, as a corner, you're always going to get beat sometime in your career. It's going to happen, but no matter how good you are. But to me, the safety, that was his play to make. He didn't make it.
It was his play all day. All day long. So I'm going to stand up in defense of
no
Diggs.
question.
Yeah, he's going to wear it. I get that part. But if you know what you're looking at and you break down that film, that safety was he was totally out of control. But bottom line, big win. Dak tweaks his ankle. He's in a boot right now. They say it's going to be okay. But they're off to a nice start, Mike. And everything seems to be rolling along pretty smooth for these guys.
The thing that has happened with Dallas is they have played uninspired football there for about 20 years. And this is the first time as a football team I've seen them play inspired football week to week, where they're excited, where they're encouraging each other. Before they just look like a bunch of independent contractors checking in for work, But they look like an inspired football team. You got to give Mike McCarthy credit for that.
Mike, Dallas's offense ran 82 plays. So that means that's exactly how many defensive plays that New England was on the field. Brutal. Almost 40 minutes of time of possession. That's, if you're from an offensive standpoint, that's textbook, isn't it?
It is. That's what you want. There's no question. But what's amazing about that whole deal, that being said, they can't get Dallas off the field. But they put them into overtime. Mm-hmm. And clearly Dallas is more talented than New England. They just are, and to go up there and then be in a position to take them into overtime and win it. I mean, we all know Bill's a great coach, but it's just a good indication of why he is who he is. He did a great job of coaching in that game.
Yeah. Harris for the Patriots, he went over 100 yards rushing. Elliott did not, but they were just so well balanced and had the ball, that time of possession we speak of, then that it didn't really matter in the end. Moving forward, Pittsburgh, Seattle, that game was interesting. Pittsburgh found a way to fight through it. A crazy call there at the end, almost similar to the Buffalo game. Pittsburgh is playing defense, and they allowed Seattle to do a review. And I mean, Seattle didn't ask for the review. They stopped the clock, and the clock was Seattle's enemy because they're trying to kick a field goal, and they stopped the clock so Seattle could, so the officials could look at the review, but that helped the Seahawks get composed again. And Mike Tomlin went crazy. Is he right? Is he wrong on that? Can they stop it like that in that situation? I guess they can, but.
Well, they can. You can see the official at the very bottom of the picture running in with his arms waving. The call came from up top that they had to review that, and they stopped it. So when they do that with the arms, the clock is stopped. Now there was one at least that got it from over his headset to stop it. So there's nothing you knew about it. That's just the rule. That's the way it is. Yeah. And I can understand him being upset, but you can't change the rule during the middle of the game.
Well, I wonder what he was arguing about. I don't know. Maybe
well, the time on the clock, they put 2 or 3 seconds on the clock, and he didn't understand why they did that. And being on the sideline, you don't know. You don't have that information.
Yeah, we understood. I understood why. Yeah, right.
But
right.
you got one guy calling it, stopping the clock, but the others aren't, and the camera doesn't get any of that, and he probably didn't see it. So, if they hadn't done that, then it'd be pretty hard to justify that.
Yeah. What other game kind of stuck out?
Well, the Charger game really, that was just they took them to school. They really did. I think the Chargers got exposed just for what you were talking about earlier, their lack of defense. But the thing that happened to them that really bothered me was all year long they protected Herbert pretty good, and they came after him and they had no answer.
Yeah.
And that's shame on them, because you've got it. When you play a team like that, when you play Baltimore, you're going to see every kind of blitz that God ever created in football at some time. And you need to know that and be ready for that and have an answer for it. And they just looked like they didn't have an answer for any of that.
Yeah.
And Herbert just got whipped now. He just got beat up.
He did. On the day, his numbers weren't crazy bad at all, but they weren't crazy good either. He was 22 of 39, 195 yards, a touchdown, interception. But what I saw, Mike, I saw something disturbing. It was a lack of energy from the Chargers.
Well, yeah, I was going to say something about that too. When you go back and look at their last 3 games, they played these last 3 games that ended in the final play of the game or the final minute, and in their own division, the Raiders, the Chiefs, and to do, there's so much energy spent over that 3-week period. It's hard to go on the road and play a great team like that. It just is. When I was in 01, when I was at the Rams, we were the winningest team in football at that point. And we were going to play Carolina, who we had beat 42-0 at halftime at home when we played them. So it should be a blowout. Well, we had just won the division, and we'd played 3 really difficult teams and had won them in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to play a team that hadn't won a game all season. And we went in there. It wasn't that we let up. We were an exhausted football team, and we had to win it on the last play of the game. And that's a team that we had beaten 49-3 or whatever it was the first time we played them. So the energy, that happens to teams. You just get gutted. You expend so much, and when you get on the road and travel, it's just a double whammy. I understand that it happens.
Yeah. And I was watching Joey Bosa carefully in passing situations. 3rd and long. He was a force. He made some decent plays, but in run situations, non-passing situations, it looked like they were beating up on him a little bit.
They went after him. That's what you do against pass rushers. In the running game, you attack him, you make him play. We say you make him play football.
Yeah.
You double him, you bring your tight end, and you lead block him with a big fullback. You just beat him up and then take away their will to rush the passer. That's what you try to do, and that's what they did. They had a great plan for him.
Yeah, they definitely made him play football, and they exposed a lot. So, wake up call. Unfortunately, now that's what the Chargers have to wear into the bye week. That's not how you want to go into the bye week, but I think it's a good time for a bye week for them. Maybe.
So, here's the other thing that's a good point, I think, to think about. It's really hard to play a team before a bye week because guys have a tendency to start looking at that bye week. You know what I mean?
That reservation.
Yeah, and they want that week off, and let's just get this one over with, kind of a deal. And you really have to coach to that. You got to get that out in the open and talk about it and say, no, we can't do this now. So
yeah, that's a tough one. Raiders did what I thought they would do, and you said it. Denver's not for real, and so it's starting to show. And that was a big win for the Raiders. They needed
a great win
for obvious reasons.
And they look like the teacher was gone and substitute teacher was in, and they were just having fun.
Yeah, exactly. So the Rams go back to New York. Joe Judge has got a long road to hoe. I know about the injury. Saquon Barkley was injured. They have a number of receivers hurt. During the game, the one playmaker that could have helped them, Kadarius Toney, he goes out with an injury. It was more the dominance of Aaron Donald, and in the end, the Giants were just mercied in that one.
Yeah, I felt so bad for those guys because they just don't have any talent there. It's like the Jets, they're just so short in talent and ability, with playmakers, and whether it's injury or they're just not there. It's pretty hard to survive in the league like that.
Mike, how does that happen though? Tell me where this starts. I know they've made some changes in the front office there. They got a guy that was in Buffalo with me in our front office when I first came into the league, Dave Gettleman. He's up there as a GM. But what's the problem?
Okay, so everybody's got to be on the same page, and you have to have a philosophy in personnel. With whoever is running their draft and whoever their personnel and GM and all that, whoever they are, with the coaching staff, they all have to be on the same page, and you have to have a plan and how you're going to build that team and how you're going to address these needs. And where they get in trouble is coaches want to draft on need. Because, if you need a free safety, you may have to reach for a guy, but at least you get a safety. And then the other side, they say, no, you got to draft on, we need to take another defensive lineman because the value's there. Well, hell, you already got 5 good ones, So it just, and that's the issue that's common, and that goes on all the time. Draft for value, no draft for need. Well, you can do a little bit of both, but you've got to have players on the field to win and not just have a stockpile, a bunch of high draft picks here in one particular area. And that happens all the time.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, one guy is in the building over here down the hall. He wants this. Another guy wants that. A lot of times a coach, and a young coach like Joe Judge, is in the middle of it, and you end up with a final product of what you see right there. A team that's drowning at 1-5 in the Giants.
But they've been bad for a long time.
Yeah.
And, Ron, with the free agency and they've got draft well. But to me, the team that drafts well every year is the Chargers. They don't re-sign them necessarily, but they've always drafted very well, and they have a plan, and they always draft guys where there's a need. They always seem to get good players there, So, I mean, you get a guy with an agenda on how to do this. The good teams do that. New England, they were really down, and they're coming back because of they kind of sold their future for those Super Bowls, right?
Yeah.
Remember you said
right.
that before, the salary cap issues that they have, but they'll start building that thing back up. They knew what they were getting when they got Jones, so the good teams do that.
Yeah, well, another team that sold their future for the Super Bowl now, the Rams. There's no money in that piggy bank, and they've got to win it in the next 2 years, or they'll have to go into that rebuilding mode that coaches never say we're in. Coaches and GMs never admit you're in.
So I've bet on those staffs too, not as a head coach, but as an assistant, where the GM will come in and say, I want to play this guy. Season's basically over, guys. We can't get in the playoffs. I want to start playing these guys that we draft to find out about them.
Yeah.
Well, that's the last thing a football coach wants to hear. You're trying to win. Even if you've only won 2-3 games, you're trying to win. You don't care. You don't want to hear that, So that's the difference between the front office and the coaches right there.
Yeah. So Arizona now not only knocks off Cleveland in Cleveland, and I know you're going to have plenty to say about this one, Baker Mayfield, the injury and all that. But before we get into that, Mike, they made a deal going into the weekend that a lot of people missed, and it was a big deal. Zach Ertz, the tight end from Philadelphia, got traded to Arizona. And to me, that just makes life a lot harder for one team in the NFC West, and that's the Rams, because the Rams were already up against it with the way the Cardinals came to LA, beat them. But what they had going, they got the 2 receivers on the outside, 2 solid running backs, the quarterback who was hard to stop. Yeah. And now you add Zach Ertz to this, and a defense that's playing pretty darn well. Boy, it seems like they've got a lot of pieces in place, and a good win, a big win for them in Cleveland this weekend.
Just another great illustration about personnel. Good people make those moves. I mean, who would make that move when would you sit pat at 6-0 thinking you don't need any help? No, they're constantly working it and trying to improve their roster, which is what you have to do. Cleveland started off really bad in that game. I think they had so many 3-and-outs to begin with. They couldn't get anything going. Then they started going a little bit, but they had some really ugly calls that went against them early that were kind of suspicious too to me. But they were shocked by their speed. They weren't ready for that kind of speed.
Now, where's Baker at? That was an ugly sublex dislocation, whatever you want to call it. That's the second time around for him in a short period of time. Now, it is his non-throwing shoulder, Mike. Yeah. So my question to you, mechanically, that's got to affect him. It would be like if you said a pitcher put his hand in his pocket, now throw the ball just as hard as he did without that arm, that hand. I think
it depends on the brace that he wears. If he's got a good brace and he it's not a real painful issue once it's put back in, obviously, but it's not a painful issue for him, there shouldn't be an issue. He'll want to play, I know, but you have to, like you said, you've got to pull that shoulder all the way when you throw. The biggest issue is raising it more than anything else. As long as he doesn't have to raise that left arm above his shoulder, I would think he'd be all right. But I would imagine he'll get surgery in the offseason.
Mike, we're waiting here for not a diagnosis, but more information. Obviously, everyone heard him talk at the podium after the game. He's in the brace. My question is, how many more? Not many hits can he take on that, or falls? Did you see him after he came back in? Boy, he was real careful about how he fell. He almost, he designed his fall a couple of times.
I was looking at him take the snap from the center to see if that left hand could come up. He could work it. And he seemed to be all right with that. But and he was skittish about taking any hits on it, and he should be. But if he continues to play, he'll have a big red target on his back. They can't wait to get to him. Take him out.
I know the league doesn't like to hear any of that stuff, but folks, that's the real deal.
That's just the reality of it.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, so running wise, since we're on the Browns here, we'll stay here and then before we jump to next week's games. So running back wise, they're in trouble. Kareem Hunt, Chubb didn't play. Kareem Hunt got hurt. He's out 4 to 6. So now you've got a banged up quarterback, a run game that's injured,
and receiver went down too, right?
Beckham went out. Yeah, Beckham has he caught a couple balls, but I'm looking here. I'm just looking at the stats. 5 for 79 yards, but I still feel like there's an issue there. Beckham needs to have that ball a lot, and while I think he's gotten better with that, Mike, I think if he doesn't get it, there's some words in that locker room, and it can be divisive in the locker room. So that's another wave that they're going to have to manage along with everything else that's going on right now.
I think that might have already been. I can't imagine the head coach allowing that to go on.
Well,
Maybe it is, but how old is Beckham now?
I don't know, I have to look that up.
Because he's at that point in his career where he's injury prone to some extent, as you look at his career of the last 2 or 3 years anyway. And
right
now he ought to be just excited to be on the field and being healthy at any time at this point.
No, that's right. He'll get 28 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's at this point now. You had the big knee injury last year, sat out, fought back. So now, I mean, his mindset should be changing right about now.
Yeah, he's not Superman anymore. He's got the flaws that he's got to realize, and just to keep healthy and contribute and make some plays in there. And I don't know that that's the case. I would think that on really good teams, if you want to talk like that in the locker room, that stuff gets snubbed out right away.
No, and that's part of the problem. Really good teams, that happens. So 7 years in the league, he's it's starting. It's gonna have to happen.
It's gonna affect him now. Yeah,
he's got to get it. They all got to get it going. Anyway, it's the whole team concept here. Defensively, I didn't like some things they did in the secondary. They didn't look like they were on point. But that's what happens.
Well, you know what though, the Cardinals can do that to you. Like I said, I think their speed and how fast they played shocked them. They weren't ready for that, and they went up and down the field so fast. It really. Then all of a sudden you feel like you got to make something happen on offense instead of just doing what you do. And if you start after that, if you start chasing that lead too early, then you just dig a deeper hole. That's kind of what they did.
So the Broncos and Browns will play next week, and they'll be talking about John Elway and all of the stuff in that game. The old Bronco Browns matchup. There's a lot of members of our audience don't even know about. Just Google it. Just Google Browns Broncos AFC championship games, and you'll get everything you need. Trust me on that one. Or just Google the drive, John Elway. You'll get everything. You'll understand why the league scheduled this game, folks.
Yeah.
But would you play Baker Mayfield in that game?
Well, he can't hurt any worse. It's just the pain that it's whether he can manage it or not. Yeah, I mean, if the doctors say he can play, it's up to Baker at that point. He'll want to play. There's no question he will, but they can brace him to where that thing won't get above his shoulder. No, because I've had that happen to quarterbacks before. Yeah. So in other words, they brace it. He gets there. No, you can't go any further. And that's where he's going to subluxe it again. Oh. So as long as he can deal with the pain in the offseason, they'll fix it. He can play.
Yeah, well, I've done that. Didn't do it on the football field. Did it riding motorcycles. And that
whoa.
You didn't know, Mike. I know you didn't know.
Stop. Back up on that. There has to be a story there somehow.
Oh, it's a hell of a story. You can't see it in my illustrious office here that I'm in, but off to my left, I have several motorcycle riding trophies. In fact, you know what? You just hold on right there, Mr. Martz. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Man in the world.
Yeah, hold on.
You should be doing a beer commercial. You sure it's not a mouse on a motor scooter?
All right. So,
holy cats!
Plug myself back in here, and
so what kind of motorcycle racing is it?
This was motocross. So
motocross.
The story goes is when I was in high school, I fell in love with dirt bikes, and I remember it got to one point I was pretty good, and my dad said, "Listen, you're going to have to make a decision here. It's either football or motocross. The two don't mix."
No, it does not.
A lot of reasons. So I obviously chose football, and I told myself that when I'm done playing, I think Dad said, they said, when you're done with your career, then you can race all the motorcycles you want. And you know what? I never forgot that. And so the year I retired and it was done, I said, damn it. I had all this adrenaline and all this stuff. And I said, I got to get back out there. My competitive edge was still there, Mike. So I went back to racing motorcycles here locally. And so let me see here. This one, Oh yeah, that's his first place here. I don't know if you can see it.
Wow, it's a pink
that?
trophy too. I love it.
No, it's red. It's not pink. It's red.
Oh,
It
I'm
doesn't
sorry.
matter.
It
It's got
pink. I'm sorry.
first. Yeah, it's
I'm
first place.
So sensitive.
Boy,
Gee
Martz, I
whiz.
tell you, man. Anything to steal my shine. Don't throw shade on my trophies,
Oh
Mike.
no, it's
Can
impressive.
you read the placing on that one? What's that say?
Yeah, it says first in class.
I see. Okay.
I wonder what class you were in. Were there two people in it?
I'll tell you what class it was. It was the vet class, over
The vet-
30.
over 30.
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah, I could, because I think I just turned 30 or something, and yeah, so but we won't talk too much about that. And this one,
You got some serious hardware there.
yeah,
Ronald.
well, this one here, this is a third place trophy. It's a lot smaller than the other one, but here it is. Folks.
Very nice.
And that's a motorcycle. So anyway,
Trying to
that's
look
my
and
other
see
lot.
if I have any. No.
Yeah, you just have Super Bowl trophies up there. I
No.
know. Yeah. Moving on.
Nice, Ron. That's very, very. It's not surprising, I guess, but it's that's pretty awesome.
All right.
Nicely
Martz.
done.
Man, thank you. I'm
Nicely
well
done.
run. If you're an athlete, you're an athlete. You can do anything, right?
Yeah, that's
Is
why I
that
don't
right?
do anything. Yeah, that's why I
Okay.
don't do anything.
Stop.
I'm in the fitness protection program, like you say.
All right. The fitness. Oh, that's funny. The fitness protection. I got to use that. I got to remember to
Yeah.
use that. Let me write that down. Fitness protection. Martz. Giving you credit for that. Okay. All right. So the upcoming games. Let me see. Let me just throw out a couple here. And we already talked about Broncos, Cleveland. Before we do that, our Emmy award-winning producer, Roy Hamilton, he just hit me with something. Got to do this. Let me finish off Tom Brady, because I was talking about the Eagles and how they traded Ertz, but give me your assessment of him last week and that whole deal.
Well, he supposedly had that hand or finger injury going in.
Yeah.
And he's the bunny, he's the ever ready bunny or whatever it is. He just keeps on ticking. He doesn't blink. I'm just shocked. I mean, I can't imagine a script like this, but if there's Superman, he's got to be him.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah, it is.
Oh boy, and they're getting good, just like they did last year around this time.
Yeah.
They start to roll.
Remember last year they had some ugly beatdowns from
Yeah.
New Orleans, and they just kept, well, okay, we'll fix it and keep going.
Yeah, he forgot the timeout situation up in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's almost like you said, it's almost like it's a setup.
Yeah.
Really, like it's planned to get everyone's expectations down low. And now again, they're under the radar, because after that Rams loss, well, everyone out here was like, oh, that's it. Get the confetti out. The Rams are going. That's it. Whoa. Hold on, folks. They're going to have to deal with the Arizona Cardinals in the division here just to straighten that out. So a lot of football can happen is what I'm saying. A lot of football
No question.
still left to play.
And they'll have to play Dallas again in the playoffs.
Oh, and Dallas. Yeah. Now, see, Dallas looks better to me now than they've looked in the past 3 or 4
But the
years.
team we never talk about is Green Bay, and they'll be
know.
there in the end too. So there's some teams, like you said, it's so early yet.
Green Bay. Yeah.
But I think the upper half and the lower half have really separated themselves. But there's probably 10 teams that really do have a chance,
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let me run through this here. Bengals at the Ravens. Bengals just have stumbled. They had some close ones there, a close one against Green Bay that they lost. So now the Ravens feeling real good about themselves. They got to go to Baltimore, take on Lamar Jackson and that team.
I don't know that they can protect the quarterback. I'm talking about the Bengals against this, what they're doing defensively. In Baltimore, they took San Diego and their protections and just disabled them completely. And I think that's the big challenge, to protect Burrow in this game. If they can protect him and let him play a little bit, then I think it's got a chance of being a pretty good game.
Don Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator, doing a pretty good job there. So again, for our younger audience, if you don't know who Don or Wink Martindale is, he's an old school game show host. So just Google that name, Wink Martindale, and then I don't have to talk about it anymore. Okay, moving forward. Washington's going to Green Bay. I don't see that being an issue. Yeah, I shouldn't even brought that one up. Washington 2-4, they're struggling a little bit. Green Bay seems to be getting their stride. You just said something interesting. Why don't we talk about Green Bay? No one talks about Green Bay.
I don't know. There's so many other surprise teams like the Cardinals coming up and growing, and the story about Brady, and the Charger thing, and
Yeah.
here's Dallas is coming back. They just continue to be Green Bay. Nothing changes up there. They start off with a loss, and he said it right. It's just one game and that's it. And right now they're rolling really well. Their run game's going. The Jones is doing a really good job there. They've got the one big receiver, and of course they brought back number 18, the little guy. What's his name from Kentucky? The little receiver. They drafted him anyway. They've got parts. They got plenty of parts to win it again. And surprising, I didn't think they'd be any good in defense when I first saw them a few games, but they're really a top-rated defense right now. They're in the upper 10 anyway, defensively.
Oh, Green Bay, yeah. Oh, you're talking about Cobb.
Yeah,
Randall Cobb. Yeah.
Randall Cobb, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that was, there was another case where maybe the man should have never left the building in the first place.
He shouldn't have. He really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And he has always been a difference maker, because on third down and 4 to 6, you're not going to cover him.
No. I never understood it, Mike, but it speaks to your point about how everyone in that building has to be on the same page, or you
can't let them out.
Your record's going to suffer. Yep.
Right.
Yep. So now Tennessee will take on Kansas City. That's at home, and Tennessee's feeling real good right now at 4-2, and Kansas City is walking that 3-3 line. Of, okay,
I watched Kansas City, and they didn't play really well, but they won.
Yeah.
I just watched the quarterback, Mahomes. He did some really stupid stuff that I just had never seen him do before. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's just kind of throwing the ball up for grabs at times. I've never seen him do that. I saw come off the sideline, and Andy was really, really angry about that one pick. And he's just like, well, yeah, I'll get it back, kind of a thing.
Is he trying to do too much because he's had to do much?
I think he's just frustrated. Frustrated. No, I think he likes to do it all. That's how he's wired. I just think he's frustrated because they're not as good as they should be, maybe.
Yeah. Raiders are going to get another win this week. The Eagles are coming out. I'd be shocked. You telling me you just traded Zach Ertz, and now you're going to go out and play the Raiders, who now, to me, I think the Raiders are going to take off because they've got it's a rebirth.
It is.
Rebirth.
They've got good players. It's a real good coaching staff, but that downer that they had there, and John's whole demeanor, and I don't know what's happened to him in the last few years, but when you see him, he's just always, his persona's always been that, down the dumps kind of looking thing. So I think that whole thing is turned around in terms of the excitement that these players have about competing and winning.
No, you're right. And Sirianni, he's got his work cut out for him. Explain this to me, Mike. What is up with the Eagles? And this is what I'm talking about. So you go from Doug Peterson, you go from Nick Foles, you take Zach Ertz. All right. All three of those had one thing in common: a Super Bowl. All right. What is going on in that building? We're talking about communication. That's kind of the theme of today. What is going wrong there? Because they just seem like they can't get it fixed, and they always go the wrong direction.
I think the front office has reached way into the coaching realm there and been very disruptive. And I think there's some directives that they've been given that you just don't do with coaches. And I think they've messed around with the personnel part of it and not gotten it right. And I think they've overreached some areas, and, they've taken the head coaching position there and do what I say kind of a thing, I think is the way it's done there now. And when you take a job, you better know that.
Yeah. Well, it's ugly. It's getting uglier. They're going backwards.
It'll get a lot uglier because I just don't think I think they may have kicked the season to the curb and start looking at personnel like some people do, like we talked about earlier.
Yep. Cardinals are going to go 7-0 unless the Texans come out there and they completely overlook them. Texans 1-5. They're fine.
The Washington Senators. Sorry, go ahead. So go ahead. Traveling team.
The Buccaneers will take on the Bears in Tampa Bay. That I'm looking at the key. I'm looking at the quarterback with the Bears and Fields, and I think they got a little overconfident from that Raider win, but the Raiders were going through some in-house stuff, obviously.
Sure.
So I don't see anything changing. I think it's the Buccaneers there.
I think the biggest thing with him is they don't trust him. And they just changed play callers. They let the coordinator, Bill Lazor, now call the plays as of a week or two ago. And they'll be better. Bill's really good. The problem that Bill has with him, I was talking to Bill here the other day that, at this point, he's just so young. Things are happening so fast for him in the passing game. It almost gets to the point where he can't go through that read progression. He just one and done kind of a deal. And once he fights his way through that and will stand in there, Lamar Jackson was the same way. And he's morphed himself into a really good passer now. So I think with time that'll happen, but he can't do that in a week or two. But he'll still make some plays. But in the first and the fourth quarter of that Bear game against Green Bay, they moved the ball very well, throwing it, and they went down and scored. Now, why can't you do that throughout the game? I don't know. Maybe they will.
Okay, Mike, the Saints at 3-2 going up to take on the Seahawks 2-4. Long trip for them. Seahawks, boy, they look like a team that's almost done.
They just don't have that quarterback,
No.
until Russell comes back. There's not much life. The quarterback he just can't do it. They pressure him. That's the key to him. If you blitz him, he just freaks out and runs out of the pocket. And had he stayed in the pocket, he could have made a number of those throws, but he broke and ran, and it's just not playing. He just hasn't played enough, and you can fix that generally because when they see it on tape, then they realize it. But Gino, if he can stand in there and make throws, they have a chance. But I don't know right now what New Orleans is. We'll find out.
Yeah, and that's what happened at the end of the game. He's running out of the pocket. He's going to scramble.
He didn't need to. He just, he had a nice pocket. He just saw the pressure coming. He started running,
Yeah, that was tough. So we're going to have to keep an eye on them. And your guy Wentz there now, he's going to travel and take on, let me pull this up here. He is taking on the 49ers, and the 49ers are struggling. Yeah, the Colts.
Well, the Colts have gotten better every week.
They have.
They've gotten better every week, and he's played well all year. We talked about this in the past. They're playing better around him. They're running the ball better, playing better defense. They were so bad on defense early, not really quite sure why, because they potentially can be very good, and they've been very good in the past. They've got good people.
Yeah. And it looks like Garoppolo might be back in the mix. They keep talking about, he's getting healthy.
Well, he's practicing, so I'm sure he'll play.
Yeah. All right, Mike, that's it. So we'll keep an eye on all of this stuff we talked about. A lot of interesting developments going on in the league. This is that period where people are separating a little bit, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. From now on, I think things will get even more interesting. You'll see some surprises come up and some disappointments, but starts getting really critical as each week goes by now.
Well, we'll have it all for you. All right.
All right, Ryan.
Good talking to you, Mike. Run it again. Ron Pitts, Mike Martz. We'll run it again for you next week. So long, everybody.